All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
And hello, all. Yes, like Clark Kent, I take off my credibility glasses and I am Supermark. I know, it's unreal.
What?
I didn't ask for the job the same way Superman didn't ask for the job. You know, it just happened. Superman was just granted with all those, skills and abilities beyond those of mortal men. Faster than, and could leap, the fastest leaping thing. He had it all working. Strength, he had that too. I'm just saying that when I take these glasses off, you can, certain superness comes into my being. My corporeal being is
could
filled
you be
with...
corporeal stingward? Do you think you could be super funky
Kim
Supermark?
did a great job this morning with the Nikki Maduro show. She did it by herself.
Yeah, I did.
She had kind of a dramatic reading of the communication by that lady in Hawaii.
Yeah.
It was pretty, I got to say, it was moving. I mean, it was pretty intense.
What's moving is her, the way she wants to give back, the way she was treated with aloha when she was there while everyone else was going through trouble, and the way now when she's home that she's thinking about giving that aloha right back where it started. And so that is what moves me, is the spirit of love in which, she was treated and which she will now return.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable point to make. Speaking of the spirit of aloha, how about Steve S. with a
big shout out.
Yeah, big shout out to Steve S. A $10 super sticker. Yeah, we're crowdfunded, so we really make a big deal out of people who are part of the crowd and fund us. And even if you're not funding us and you're just part of the crowd, I welcome you and embrace you. We will talk about what's happening on Lahaina. I'm just amazed at the stories coming out of that place. And the stories are all riveting. But one of the things that I'm also struck by is just the insanely fast way everything went down. Like, it went down so quickly. You really get the feeling that, unlike a tsunami, for example, which is really that warning system that they have on Lahaina, that's really what it's set up to do, right? Is warn residents of the, I'll put the word typical in there. Typically it's used for the tsunami warning, that alarm. And then that goes out on cell phones and all the rest. They have a warning system for that. But this happened so quickly, they couldn't even get that system operational. And that's why there was no warning at all. Really an extraordinary thing. HawaiiCommunityFoundation.org for donations. And there are also, as you're well aware, questions around why warnings weren't heeded. I'm talking about warnings ahead of time.
You're going to be okay, Milo.
Mm-hmm. And this is the video from the water. This is the video I saw over the weekend. I really wanted to share it with you because, there's this sense that they ran to the water and they were safe. But what you see here is how this was an ongoing disaster, and it was so catastrophic. It was by no means clear that they were safe in the water. There were a lot of embers and pieces of debris, burning pieces of debris flying into the water. Kim told you on Friday about the fact that there was enough oil in the water that there literally were flames on the water. The water was on fire, if you want to think of it that way. And as night fell in Hawaii, that was the scene. Again, from the same person. This is all from someone who was able to escape the initial blast.
You saw people there with their hands over their mouths because the smoke is thick even over the water. They can't breathe. So there they are in the water struggling to breathe. It's a nightmare scenario. Whether you were able to get to the water, whether you were running inland, it just, no matter where you were, it's awful.
Yeah. Wow, is this right? All the conspiracy nuts are saying that Hawaii was an inside job for land grabbing. Wow, what a bad,
What?
that's a bad idea. That's a bad heist caper. Um, the Kelly Malloy, thank you so much. Kelly just made a contribution to us, and I appreciate that. Kelly's a regular, and appreciate a
So
big,
nice,
big
Kelly.
shout out. Yeah, exactly.
You know who else did is also Gail.
Look at that, Gail Guthrie, who is HOF.
Big shout out.
Back from vacation, happy to be back in California. Went to the Adirondacks. Nice, but lots of rain. Yeah. Thank you for a 20, Gail. I'm not going to cry.
I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry.
But as you know, you are HOF kid, and we love you. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
We got another
Appreciate that.
5 from Wes here too. And
Oh,
Mark, your
Wes.
audio's a little low, so if you could just turn that up a little
All
bit.
right, Albert. Thank you very much.
Thank
I'll
you.
turn up my audio a little bit. We had the studio rebuilt. You know, our main mother computer was. This is telling you more than you want to know. And I promise it won't
The
take
mothership.
more than 30 seconds. The mothership had a major, Tony with his. It's the motherboard. It's the this. It's that. It's like, and he was up here yesterday, and he replaced everything, and he took some certain things. So we're still working on. Got to, I think, nail down some acoustic things. But as a result, everything is just a kilter.
You know, they do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for.
Right on, Casey. You know what I'm talking about. I mean, it really is. It's driving me crazy.
Is Don on the phone?
Exactly. Let's get Don on the phone to clear this up. And by the way, where are those pictures I was supposed
And
to?
I also want to know what happened to the pictures I was supposed to see this week.
So, thank you. Who was I recognizing? Gail. Anyway, Gail, we love you and thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, really, really cool. Everybody who joins us regularly, we appreciate it. And also, there are many more people who are joining us as first timers. And so, if you can hip them to what's going on, I'd appreciate that as well.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I promise you, we'll revisit the Hawaii thing. Because I think it's an ongoing human tragedy. And it's also, as I was saying, I think it is instructional because, as is often the case, there were warnings. There were warnings about the nature of the community in relation to fire risk. There were warnings specific to the kind of situation that arose this past week. Now, to be fair, what arose this past week, and I was talking about the speed with which everything happened, that was largely the result of this hurricane, right? This hurricane that was still a couple hundred miles away, but the winds from it did produce a situation that made this already very difficult, as I say, unstable situation, a situation that had been warned about. It made it virtually impossible, right? And with the limited space on the road, you had a Paradise, California situation. It was, go ahead.
What I understand, and you're talking about the warnings, is that it not only were they warned that where they were in a red flag, wind event, and that their chance of fire was greater, but that they had been warned over the years that Lahaina itself specifically was at great risk of something like this happening. And I don't know the number of years, but it had been years that they had this warning presented to them, and yet nothing was done. So you think of like what happened in San Francisco in 1906 after the earthquake and the city burned, and how steps were taken, right? We had fireboats then. We had underground cisterns in the street put in because of a lack of water. And so the city did things to help, mitigate the damage if the fire caught city in the future. But when you're warned that your city is at great risk of burning down like this, I guess it's hard to fathom and hard to take that threat seriously, that the whole place could burn down. But it doesn't look to me like anything was done to prepare for such a scenario. Where were the water boats, the fire boats out on the water? Where were those safeguards? What happened? Who dropped the ball on that?
A hazard mitigation plan prepared for Maui County in 2020 said that the area of West Maui, where Lahaina is located, had the highest annual probability for wildfires of all the communities in the county. The document listed West Maui as having, quote, a highly likely probability, or a more than 90% chance of wildfires each year on average, far above the likely ratings, 10% to 90%. Most of the other Maui communities got that, the highly likely rating, but Lahaina, this area, West Maui, got the highest probability. So this plan was prepared by a Massachusetts-based firm that specializes in natural hazard mitigation. And dry, windy conditions and accumulation of vegetative fuel can oftentimes create, this is a 1,000-page report. But as Kim said, nothing was really done. And the report also specified things about the community. For example, West Maui had the county's second highest rate of households without a vehicle.
A vehicle. I thought you were going to say fire extinguisher.
No.
Oh,
West Maui had the county's second highest rate of households without a vehicle, almost 7%. The highest density of multi-unit housing in the county was also there. That was something that, remember we had talked to Orlando last week and Jimbo came on? And he said that the density of these multi-unit structures is such that it's just something that's happened over the years. The highest density of multi-unit housing in the county, almost 40%. And they identified 50 strategies for the county to take to lessen the impact of natural hazards. One of them called for the county to establish an alternative route to and from West Maui for use during disasters. So when we talk about, you know, I have this thing, and you can talk to the old school conservatives about government, you know, got to get government out of our lives, and government, so you know, but everybody needs government when the fire comes, when the floods come, when the quake comes, when the war comes. I think government can be very useful, and I think government is extremely important. And I think government regulatory agencies and protections that are put in place for citizens, for inhabitants, right, for consumers, these are all immensely important. And in this case, government was delivered this information. Now, to be fair, I don't know that they can change some of these things. They can't change the dryness of the fuel, the amount of fuel that was available for this fire, but they could have changed the escape routes, the evacuation. They could have changed the alarm system. I mean, it appears that once the power went down, it was game over. Nobody knew what was happening. I mean, I listened to Kim this morning, and you heard from the person who's, you know, in the hotel, they have no idea that their flames just blocks away.
No one knows. Yeah.
So,
and I don't know how many fire trucks there are in Lahaina, but it's probably not more than 2 or 3 in Lahaina proper. So, you know, you're told 2 years ago, you're given a list of 50 things to do, and you're given the most dire rating. They're saying, hey, wake up. This could happen here. It's very likely that it will. You guys better do something. And what was done? You hate to point fingers of blame when they're still pulling people from the rubble, right? Because you want that to be the focus. But it's hard not to be angry when you hear that they knew something like this was likely.
yeah, that's exactly right. Albert, is my level better now? There's word in the chat and from you that the mic has to be turned up. Is this about right? Are you okay with this? As I say,
I also turned you up on our streaming platform. I pumped you up a lot. So if you could just turn yourself just a couple more tabs.
Even more?
Yeah, so I could not max out your stream
like that.
levels.
Is that better? My
Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
it's okay. Wow. Sorry, guys. We'll have the levels. I don't know how bad it is, to be honest. I have no true
okay.
mix. That's one of the frustrating things about.
It sounds
think-
good. It's just a little
yeah.
low.
You sound good now, I think.
Now, maybe
Yeah.
during Kim's news, I can jump out and I can do one thing to crank it up more. But it is again, that's because Tony was up here and he's reworked everything, and so nothing is as it was.
Yeah.
So I'll continue to pump this up. This is way past, I'm running in the red up here, but it's so funny. All right, that's the word on Hawaii. As I say, I'd like to revisit it. And I feel that these moments are instructive. I mean, they're horribly tragic. Please don't get me wrong. But these moments within the tragic story are instructive because you do see how leadership in government in that area let down the community. That's what I would suggest. I mean, I'm not saying that this same thing wouldn't have happened because, as I was suggesting, some of the variables and elements were there and consistent, and there was no changing those variables and elements. But what certainly could have been done is evacuation routes and planning related to evacuation and getting word out. That could have been put in place. And as Kim says, even things like fireboats, etc. And you can petition the federal government for that. So don't tell me about money. Anyway, that's the latest on Hawaii.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Is that low? The sting, Albert? Are the stings low? Are my stings low, Albert? Albert, tell me, are my stings low? My
That
God.
one sounded good.
It sounded okay. I'm just saying, Albert, I need my stings. What's happening, man?
We'll do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
I'm trying to do it live.
I do miss communicating with the ding, though, as I did on Friday. I did replace my mic cable, and it's working, fortunately,
Yes,
for the
come
show.
on, Albert.
Yeah.
But I do miss the ding. I do miss it.
If you
was
missed
very
it on
short-lived.
Friday, Albert's mic cable was out. There was no way to communicate with him. And as a result, the only way he could communicate was using the ding. And we used the ding for yes. And we probably could have exploited that bit more than we did. I saw in the chat after the show, I went through the chat. I like to do that. Also, I look for comments, especially after Florida, what things people found, whatever there was their favorite, etc. It's hard for me to read the chat and do the show at the same time. Anyway, point is that many people were making references, and this is a really cool, obscure Star Trek reference to Captain Christopher Pike. Do we know it? Yes. And the fact that I guess at his court-martial or at one of in that episode, there's a couple of episodes he could only communicate with a ding or something, isn't it? I don't know. It's anyway. So anyway,
When
those
life
who
imitates art, yes.
yes, those who recognized it, congratulations. I've got big Trump news. I also have bowling with Biden today. So I would say this: if you're new to the show, you're already put off by the fact you think that we're on the hunt for Trump. Well, you're right. I am on the hunt for Trump, but I'm on the hunt for Biden. I'm on the hunt for anybody who I feel is running afoul of doing what's right. And so I have bowling with Biden, and I also have a chunk of Trump. I'm going to do both of them after Kim's news. I also, and did you get this, Albert? Did you get the Vivek Ramaswamy stuff that I sent you? Did I send you that? Or
Yeah, you did. I do have the audio for that.
Yeah, so I want you to hear that. We'll also do that after the bottom of the hour. Because Vivek Ramaswamy, and he's very well spoken, and he comes across well, but he's a fraud, okay? Vivek Ramaswamy is an absolute fraud, all right? So
It's just funny, the juxtaposition of that he comes across well, but he's a fraud.
well, he's well-spoken, and he's very self-assured, and that gets you a long way in politics.
Yeah.
But like Donald Trump, he's a fraud, okay? He's not some hugely successful, he's rich, but you have to look at where the wealth comes from. But that's not what I'm talking about, because his business success or failure is only relevant in the sense that when we talk about Vivek, I think I want you to have the accurate profile of who he is. I do think he can appeal to independents, which is why I think if you're a Democrat or if you're in the Democratic Party and concerned with the future of winning the presidency, I think you got to pay attention to him. Because if Trump falters, Vivek will be in scoring position. Now, again, I didn't mean to do the whole thing on this, but just to round it off, because I am going to play you the audio and I'll break it down for you a little bit. But his aspirations, and that would be a ding word, they don't necessarily extend to the presidency. I think he's doing this for a lot of reasons that don't, and we've talked about this before, people run for president for any number of reasons, and most of the reasons have nothing to do with wanting to be president. And Vivek is one of those guys, in my judgment. But look, I don't know, in his heart, maybe he does want to be president, but I do know that he is beyond clever. And I will talk, though, about what he's saying. And in the latest news is he's angry at the rest of the GOP for not signing a pledge that should they become president, any one of those candidates running for the presidency, that they wouldn't, the pledge is, I will pardon Donald Trump. So because he's been very upfront about this, but his anger is that no one else is agreeing to that and signing on. So I'll get more into Vivek because we will break it down. We have that piece for you. I'll do that after the bottom of the hour. As I say, I've got Chunk of Trump, Bowling with Biden, and a lot more. Gosh, there's a lot in today's show. We'll get to it. Courtney she's working, she's trying to build this company, so she can't be with us today. Oh. So we've got, I know. If there's maybe we should do a poll on this, Albert. If you want, I will do a little bit of I know you guys like a murder mystery. I'll give you a little bit of a murder mystery, but
What?
But only if there's enough interest in it. Do you want me to do a quick one, or can we just skip over it? So that
I'll put that in the poll right now, and then I could review it maybe after Kim's news.
Great. A lot. I've got Disney in the news. I got Christianity in the news. It's a pretty packed show. I have a feeling some of it's going to spill over to tomorrow. But next, we'll break down Vivek, Chunk of Trump, Bowling with Biden. Smash the like button if you would.
Smash it with your iron rod.
Smash the like button. Is that too hot, or does that sound about right? Smash it with your iron.
Loved it.
All right.
Smash it with your iron rod.
We're riding all new levels today, everybody. All right. Kim's news next, and we continue. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. Let's start with a sad situation this morning out of Maui, where the death toll is now nearing 100 in the Lahaina wildfire. Search and recovery efforts continue in the burned out town where 2,700 homes and buildings were destroyed. There are hundreds still listed as missing. Thousands are displaced following the nation's deadliest wildfire in more than a century. A Georgia district attorney is preparing and presenting an election interference case against the former president today. It is happening.
This is their new hoax.
Wait a minute. What? Yeah. Former President Trump is having the case presented to this grand jury today in Georgia. Today, Trump launched a series of attacks against the Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis on social media and argued he did not interfere in the election. Well, if Trump is indicted in the investigation, it would mark the fourth indictment of the former president. I'm telling you, they're all coming at once. Meanwhile, Hunter Biden's lawyers claim it was the federal government who reneged on the plea agreement that fell apart. The agreement would have settled tax evasion and gun charges. In the filing late Sunday, lawyers for the president's son said prosecutors were largely responsible for the deal collapsing. Special counsel David Weiss will review the case as prosecutors move forward with possible charges in California and in Washington, D.C. Meanwhile, over at the Pentagon, they're not so happy about a delay on senior military promotions in Congress. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said today it is undermining America's military readiness. Alabama Republican Senator Tommy Tuberville has been blocking nominees for months over the military's policy to reimburse expenses for service members who travel out of state for abortions. How long will this be allowed to go on? I am telling you what.
It doesn't seem as though the media and the collective outrage is enough to get Tuberville to, change his strategy. And it's been effective in blocking these things, but I don't know how effective it is. I mean, politically, he doesn't seem to be paying a price. I guess that's what I'm getting at. But
Well, I mean, the
Don't know.
longer it happens, it's kind of hamstringing the
Oh, it's real.
you
The
know
real world effects, and their promotions being affected, their families being affected. I mean, it's a serious thing.
it's
It's just like
outrageous.
bringing the country to its knees to block, budgetary green lights because you're trying to make a point about, these morality plays that the GOP does.
And I guess
It's
the question
these
is
are cultural wedge issues, and Tuberville's trying to own one in this way.
how does one person have so much power?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And, so when I talk to Rothman about problems in the system, this is the kind of thing I'm talking about. I mean, I'm sorry. You should open up the hood on America and the American political system by which this guy Tuberville, who's an utter moron and wasn't even a great he's a football coach, ends up because of this ridiculous way we have of electing people. And to be fair, I think the elections worldwide kind of fall into like these popularity contests or whatever. He ends up in a position of just enough power to pull this off.
Let's talk about the price of gas for a moment, if we could. The drivers now shelling out more at the pumps. The gas prices are climbing toward the $4 mark. In California, we say $4, ha ha. Well, AAA says the national average for regular gas hit $3.85, and that is the highest it's been since last October. Hits right before Labor Day, when millions of Americans will take road trips, and of course, much more than that in California.
This
Let's
is
go
a
to
good point. Let me just mention this. Katie
Yeah.
throw this in on the Tuberville story. This is absolutely true. Tuberville actually lives in Florida, and it's kind of wild to consider that that's the case. But apparently, because of because of tax information, they know where Tuberville lives, and it's in Florida. That's his primary
But he's a
residence.
senator in Alabama, correct?
Right,
Doesn't have
and
to-
he's not. They don't, it's like, well, he lives right on the Alabama-Florida border. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. Nowhere near the border. So,
Don't you have to live in the state or district in which you represent?
I mean, should he still be their senator? That's a reasonable question. And honestly, there should be more noise made about that. I mean, it's weird. Media noise does matter. That's why, like, we talk to Avila about media and politics. We talk historically on this show about media and the stories that get out. You need to make noise in the media. And maybe that's a story with Tuberville not living in Alabama that should, come under greater scrutiny. Scrutiny is a dang word.
I'll take it. I will take it. Okay, let's move on to data from the San Francisco Controller's Office on how much city government employees are paid. It might actually surprise you. The top earner made $640,000 last year, almost double what Mayor London Breed made. The top spot to Allison Romano, the Chief Executive and Investment Officer of Retirement Services. In fact, more than 100 San Francisco city employees make more than the mayor. The top list includes many police officers, sheriffs, and firefighters. Total pay, the sum of regular pay and overtime. It does not include things like health and retirement benefits, which averaged $32,000 a year for each employee last year.
Jeez.
$640,000 a year.
All of a sudden, being a cop.
I might have to
Not
work
such
for
a
the
bad
city
gig.
of San Francisco instead of the Mark Thompson show. This whole San Francisco.
I wouldn't argue with you on that. I probably should work anywhere but the Mark Thompson show.
Why is this place so fun? Damn it.
Yeah.
What?
Okay.
San Francisco federal workers are being advised to work from home for the foreseeable future. The Nancy Pelosi Federal Building in San Francisco is home to a range of essential offices, including the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the U.S. Department of Labor, U.S. Department of Transportation, the Office of Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi. The San Francisco Chronicle, though, is reporting the Department of Health and Human Services is issuing a work-from-home advisory because of the unsafe conditions around the building itself, citing the fact that the surrounding area is home to an open-air drug market and is often frequented by people that have just purchased said drugs and then get high or socialize and pass out. This directive comes as President.
Wait. Well, stop 1 second. Sorry.
Yep.
What is? I want everybody to hear this.
Yeah.
All right.
So
The city of San Francisco is issuing a directive
Nope.
suggesting.
That would be the department, the United States Department of Health and Human Services.
Okay, so
The
but
U.S. Department of Human
so it's
Health and
not
Human
running through the
Services.
mayor's office. You're saying
No,
it's
it's
through.
that is
Okay.
housed in the Nancy Pelosi Federal Building.
Okay,
right?
I got it. That's
Along
the federal.
with
Okay,
all of these other agencies, U.S. agencies in the federal building, the Nancy Pelosi Federal Building,
Mhm.
the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services is issuing a work from home advisory because of the unsafe conditions around the building itself.
Okay, so put another way, if you work in that building, the federal building, they are saying you should work from home. At least those agencies are saying you should work from home because of the threat of crime in that area.
That's right.
I mean, that's where San Francisco is. That's how far we've fallen. It's disgusting. It really is.
Don't come to work because there's a drug
We can't
market around our
control the
building.
crime.
Yeah.
And it's so completely overflowing that all we can do is ask you we can throw you this bone. We can have you work at home. Gosh.
This, by
it's
the
just
way,
awful.
as President Biden and Mayor London Breed are calling for federal employees to return to in-person work after several years of working remotely. But now they can't go back to the Nancy Pelosi Federal Building because it's a crime-ridden drug den.
Wow.
Tell you what.
I'll tell you what.
I'll tell you what.
No, what's a buddy? There's a reason.
There's a reason that this place is fun.
Yeah, right.
The auction for the microphone thrown by Cardi B has unfortunately fallen through.
No.
What? Yes, the production company that owns the microphone put it up for bid on eBay after Cardi B threw it at a fan during a Las Vegas concert. So the fan chucked a drink at her because she had asked to be cooled off.
Yeah.
And then she threw the microphone at the fan because she was mad.
Yeah.
Well, the auction closed this week with a high bid of more than $99,000 for the microphone.
Wow.
But the winner
That's not fake. That's real.
Wow.
is refusing to pay up.
What? That's
How can you do
outrageous.
What?
It's
There's
an
never been
auction. You
anything like
can't do
this.
that.
Yes,
Completely
it
goes
sounds very
against the rules.
Trumpian.
I'm
Yeah.
telling you. The proceeds of the auction were supposed to go to charity. The production company says it's going to offer the mic to the second highest bidder. As for Cardi B, she was named a suspect for battery after chucking that mic into the crowd, but was ultimately cleared by the police.
Yeah, exactly.
Crisis averted. Microphone, second highest bidder. Money going to charity. We'll see if they pay up. Outrageous.
Yeah.
This show is crowdfunded. We'll go to the highest bidder or the second highest bidder. It doesn't matter. We're at themarkthompsonshow.com. themarkthompsonshow.com. And in all seriousness, the show is crowdfunded. That's where you find the Patreon and the PayPal link. Of course, you've seen the Super Chat is live here on The Mark Thompson Show, and we thank you for your support. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Who's Mark Thompson?
Feels great.
When they raided Mar-a-Lago, God didn't like that.
Wow. Wow. I see this. Very, very excited that Scott Rittenberg for a quick 20 lays it on in a super sticker form. Big shout out. Come on,
Right
Scott.
on, Scott.
Yeah. My birthday present this year was just hearing Trump's first court date was scheduled for August 14th.
Happy birthday, Scott.
Thanks, Mr. Smith, for my birthday gift. Now let's just get his ass in all four.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yes, you mean all four of the cases that are grinding on against Mr. Trump. It's interesting, of those cases, the court case that involves January 6th may be the one that actually makes it to trial in time to beat the deadline of the next election. You'll recall that we had David Katz, the former federal prosecutor, on. He joins us on Thursdays, and his predictions have been 100%. And he actually revised a prediction. I guess you can remain 100% if you revise predictions. But anyway, he revised it to say he thinks that it's very possible that that J6 indictment leads to a trial that can actually fast track at such a clip that it may beat the election. That'll be interesting. Now, in the meantime, as you're well aware, Donald Trump is all too good at playing the aggrieved victim in all of these different situations. So, Albert, what do we want to do here? You want to do chunk of Trump first? And then I can, I'd suggest this, if it's okay with you. Chunk of Trump, bowling with Biden, and then I'll do Vivek. Is that the best way to do it, you think?
I'd love that, and thank you for the $1 Pinky. Yeah, I love that.
Thanks, Pinky. Yeah. We always love a dollar a day from the Pink. Love it. Let me put my Superman glasses on, and all right, Albert. It's
whoever is producing this thing has no idea what they're doing.
It's all you now, my friend. So this is your chunk of Trump.
Open wide.
Ready?
Here comes your chunk of Trump.
It's my favorite food.
With your first bite, here's Mark Thompson.
I have a feeling it's going to be beautiful.
You want the law first, or you want the Iowa State Fair first? Kim, I'll ask you.
Give me the state fair.
Kim, how are you?
Okay.
I want a little fun fair action before you really dig in hard.
All right. Trump dominates the Iowa State Fair, and all of this, while all of his rivals, the Ron DeSantis of the world, the Mike Pences of the world, they're all there at the state fair too. But like an orphaned skee ball game, they did not get the media attention that Trump got. I mean, it was pretty insane. Albert, I forget what I sent you. Do you have the actual video of him at the state fair, or what do we have?
It's pretty, it's him. It's a shorter video.
Okay,
but
here's a little bit
on stage. Yeah.
Okay, this is him. You can see the crowd around him. Actually, if you roll back of that, Albert, if you roll back of it, you can see him making his way through the crowd, and you see him there, just flanked by all those people. Yeah, he's doing his thing. For those listening, he's in a blue suit with an open collar white shirt, waving. Now I'd skip to...
Careful. We only had a few people, Trump, and I like them. Do you plan to comply with the judge's order?
There you go. Do you plan on complying with the judge's order?
Well, I'll have to take a look at the order. It's the whole thing is a fake. It was put out by Biden, and they put it out because they can't win an election the fair way. It's all called election interference. Biden put it out because he can't win the fair way. He's way down in the polls. President Trump, did you intend to overturn it?
All right, so there you go, and he continues. So he's he's playing the hits, of course, and he, as I say though, he's right about being way up in the polls, and he's also right about everybody paying attention to him. Of course, he's wrong about it being a Biden hoax.
Question though.
Yeah.
Why? And I don't think the two things are connected, but why do you think that all 4 of these indictment cases came down at the same time? And does that give any credence to his argument that he's being targeted?
Well, I'd suggested that they didn't all come down at the same time. I mean, these, we've been waiting for them. They've been dropping, I guess you could say, in a cluster,
right.
But I don't think they've been dropping at the same time. It's not like boom, boom, boom. They all are distinctly different, and the dockets and even the method by which he's being charged federally and on the state level, that's different. I, as you know, have an issue with how long it took a special prosecutor or special counsel, in this case, to be assigned. I think that the Jack Smith assignment should have come way sooner. Yeah. And I fault Merrick Garland for that. And I know everybody worships at the Church of Merrick Garland. I do not. I think Merrick Garland has played too carefully and is walking on eggshells. And you see it even, and then I want to get back, and I'll get back to Trump and what's going on in court. But you see it even in the way that they are so concerned with the Hunter Biden thing that they leave a prosecutor in place who was handling the prosecution prior to being named the special prosecutor, right? They left somebody who was a Trump appointee and who had, I would suggest he might have been agenda-driven. He left him there. 5 years they've had that investigation going on with Hunter Biden. You know how I feel about Hunter Biden also, if you're a regular of the show. I'm not a fan. I think he's abused the system. He's abused himself. He's not a cool guy. But again, he's not serving in the administration and he's not running for anything. He's being targeted by law enforcement and the criminal justice system. That's what happens when you break the law. John Slade's talking about Donald Trump there. Yeah, exactly.
That is what happens. Well, imagine that.
So I just think that I think the Democrats, just to finish the point and round it off, I think the Democrats do this. They're so worried about being accused of playing politics that they leave the Trump appointee in and they let him run out the Biden case. Do you think a GOP executive, Trump or anyone else, would leave in a Biden-appointed prosecutor to continue and actually and upgrade him to the federal level, which allows him all kinds of permissions, if you want to think of it that way, to go after various information and in other states? Do you think that would happen? No, of course not.
They're playing by the new hardball rules, and Democrats are still playing by the old decorum rules. Now,
and Democrats are worried about being accused of playing politics. So let me just cut to what's going on. Didn't mean to digress into Hunter Biden, but because we're on it. So here's what's happening. The thing that I always say, which is, guys, you're going to get accused of playing politics anyway, no matter what you do. You're going to get accused of playing politics. So why do you bend over backwards to make life tough on yourselves by keeping these Trump appointees in and you can say, well, because it's the right thing to do. Not necessarily. You could assign that position to someone else. This is the prosecutor, okay, for the Hunter Biden case, for that investigation. The federal guy, that guy, is it Weiss, who was just upgraded? That's the guy that they all wanted. Jim Jordan wanted him. Matt Gaetz wanted him. They all asked for that guy. Then they get that guy from Biden, and what do? Complain that he's a political appointee. How can they use Weiss? Weiss is weak. Oh my God, it's classic. Weiss is a Biden puppet. Dude, you asked for Weiss not that long ago, just a few months ago. So it's a game that they're always going to play and accuse you of playing politics. And for that reason, you shouldn't worry about it. You can play as ruthlessly as the other side. I don't like the lying that the GOP does, but I'm just saying when it comes to political hardball, you've got to be ready to throw heat. And the Democrats don't throw heat typically like the Republicans do.
I love this comment from John. He says, it's really interesting. He says they turn around and say Biden is mentally incompetent and doesn't know what's going on. But they also say he's running multiple indictments against Trump in multiple states. So what is it? Is he clueless or is he like a mastermind?
So true. Yeah. So true. And by the way, thank you, Neil, for the super sticker. Very cool. Big shout out to Neil Boudreau.
Big shout out.
Yeah. Really appreciate that, Neil. I think also just because you mentioned the Biden thing and his, being called, dementia Biden or whatever they call him, because of his age. I, this weekend, was watching a bunch of interviews and deep dive stuff with who? Harrison Ford. Do you know how old Harrison Ford is? He just finished the Indiana Jones movie, okay? Google it right now. Google how old Harrison Ford is.
He like
I don't know the answer, but I'm guessing 80. What is it, Albert?
81.
Oh,
81.
Wow.
Thank you. Okay. Now, is anybody saying, oh my God, Harrison Ford, he's 81, I'm not going to the Indiana Jones movie, blah, 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 blah. Harrison Ford is rocking the house at 81. Okay? Well, Mark, he's not managing an entire company. Dude, he's managing an entire career. Harrison Ford is way with it and clicked in. And for what I'm told, the guy likes a little bit of the, once in a while. So I think about the Biden thing, and he's, Biden's biking, and look, I get it. He may have a senior moment from time to time, but I don't know that that's the case. And I'm just saying I get it. But they play up this like he's utterly confused all the time. It's just not true.
I'm
So
decades and decades younger, and I have a senior moment every 5 minutes. I don't know what he's talking about.
yeah.
Isn't
will
Harrison
always-
Ford still flying planes too? Or I'm not sure the last time he flew a
I
plane.
hope he's not, but he has had a couple of mishaps in the with the aircraft. Harrison is always a babe, says Julie. Always be
Totally,
a babe in
Julie.
my mind.
Totally.
Yeah. So in any case, in Fulton County, Georgia, a grand jury will be presented with findings from their 2.5-year investigation into former President Trump. And they'll decide this week whether Trump will be indicted for interfering in the presidential election in Georgia. He's already been indicted in 3 separate cases, as we've said. He's far ahead of competitors in this 2024 Republican nomination race. But Fani Willis started looking into whether Trump and his associates violated Georgia law shortly after that recording was released. You know, I just need 11,780 votes. And he wanted those votes found. I think some of the most amazing information is coming out of the fact that it would appear that Trump attorneys and those close to Donald Trump actually were in touch with Georgia elections people trying to get access to the computers that had all the election information. And in fact, were able to download that election information off of those Georgia voting machines. You may remember the video of a Georgia election official opening a door and allowing members of that Trump team to go in and grab that information. That's highly illegal. And if you can trace that breadcrumb trail back to Donald Trump, which is what's being suggested now, that there is evidence that Trump's close advisors on the election actually met in the Oval Office about this plan. If you can trace that back to Donald Trump, that should be game over. It is outrageous. It is outrageously illegal. And as I say, that should be the case. Now, that's not the only part of this case, but it's a massive revelation in the case. So I think this Georgia case is, they have him on tape. He's having that mobster-like conversation where you go, I wish that guy wasn't around anymore type conversation. I wish you could find 11,780 votes. You just need to find them. But it goes beyond that. As you're well aware, the recordings extend beyond that soundbite that we're so used to hearing. I think Trump's in big trouble in Georgia. Now, our legal experts have said that case may drag on such that it's not going to wrap up before Election Day. I don't know. Obviously, you'd like it to wrap up before Election Day, but I don't know that it's going to matter in another way as revelations from that case become public. I think it begins to dirty him up a little bit. Now, his core will not leave him. They will stay at his side. But in terms of independent voters, they're going to be looking possibly elsewhere. I think it's a situation for Donald Trump. Legally, that's a problem, but politically, it could be an issue as well. So that's where this Vivek Ramaswamy steps in. Vivek Ramaswamy.
You say his name really well, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
No.
He's a guy who, as I was mentioning, if you missed it before, speaks very well. He uses a lot of very clever phrases like, he always refers to data. I'm data driven, right? When people say, look, I don't have a philosophy here. I'm just data driven. I'm looking at the way things are, right? Well, that sounds good, right? You're data driven, right? And he does a lot of that. I'm just looking at the facts. But the reality is he's, while well-spoken and super confident, he's telling a story that's completely fraudulent about himself, I'd suggest. And he's really made his bones as an anti-wokeism candidate. Now he's forwarding this thing and he's asking other Republican candidates to do similarly, that if he becomes president, he would pardon Donald Trump. You can say, well, he's not going to become president anyway. Yeah, but it gets the narrative out there that whatever Trump did should be pardoned, because Vivek continues, because it's all political, and I just don't feel as though I've looked. And then he says, I'm data-driven. I've looked at these facts, and I don't think that former President Trump should have been prosecuted in the first place. You looked at the facts? Oh, we haven't even seen the facts. I mean, you were making these statements before these facts were even in evidence. So Vivek's ready to pardon before we even know anything. I love that whole thing. It's reverse engineering your decision, which has already been made. You've already decided you want to let this guy get a pass, and so somehow the facts don't even matter. You, Vivek, Mr. Fact-driven. Here is a little bit of Vivek, and I'll speak after you here. And again, he speaks very, very well.
I think you mentioned this in your speech. I just want to clarify. Do you think the only reason that we're involved in Ukraine is because of Hunter Biden and Burisma? What is the connection between Hunter Biden and Burisma and our involvement in this war, do you think?
I don't know if everybody could hear it, but this is a question to him about whether or not we're involved. This is his here I'm again saying hard fact. His contention is that we're in Ukraine because of Hunter Biden's relationship to Ukraine. You'll remember the Burisma thing. And then Joe Biden, the president's support of Hunter Biden and his central lobbying on behalf of Ukraine. I think that's what he's about to say. Go back just a couple seconds and run it again. Sorry, Albert. Now I'll be quiet. I just want to make sure you heard.
Good hair, though. I just want to say.
Oh, he's got everything's good about Vivek. He looks good, sounds good, everything.
This in your speech. I just want to clarify. Do you think the only reason that we're involved in Ukraine is because of Hunter Biden and Burisma? What is the connection between Hunter Biden and Burisma and our involvement in this war, do you think?
Well, look, I think it is a hard fact that a Ukrainian-affiliated company, a Ukraine state-affiliated company, made a $5 million payment to the son of a sitting vice president, who's now the president of the United States, who is now sending $200 billion of aid to a country without ever identifying what the clear national objective is that we're advancing by sending that money.
Okay, stop right there. Stop right there. Are you telling me, Vivek, really you want me to swallow this, and you're telling everybody else that you think that the $5 million, which I've already said, is dirty money that Hunter got, meaning it's not illegal, but it's just unsavory. It's trading on the name and the implication that you have access. But the reality is Hunter Biden did have access. Come on. Joe Biden knows Hunter Biden is a mess. Okay? He had access to nothing. Joe Biden is a loving dad who tried to support his son. But you're telling me that the $5 million that Hunter Biden was paid is the reason we are in Ukraine? I mean, you've married two disparate things, even though you claim to be fact-driven. You've married them in this ridiculous scenario. It's utterly absurd. You can say, and you can have a reasonable conversation about involvement in Ukraine. But when you say we have no implicit national interest there, we have no interest in Ukraine, and I would take issue with that. Again, I think it can be a confusing thing, but I would certainly take issue with that. And you can talk about Russia and expansionist Russia, and if you don't draw the line, you end up in a situation with Russia encompassing much more of Eastern Europe. But again, leave that all aside. The idea that you could link the Hunter Biden payment to our involvement in Ukraine is utterly absurd. I mean, it's cuckoo. Go ahead, Albert.
Now, it is also further my perspective that this war does not advance American interests. We are further driving Russia into China's hands. We are increasing the risk of nuclear war, and we're depleting capabilities that we may better use in other circumstances. So I think that was the payment to Hunter Biden corrupt? Absolutely it was. Do I think that it has some relationship to our posture towards Ukraine? I think it's likely that it does. And does this affect the way Vladimir Putin may look at the relationship between the U.S. and Ukraine? I think that's a legitimate question to ask too, because if you're in Putin's shoes, you're saying, wait a minute, here's a country that's paying bribes to the son of the person who's now the U.S. president that's now arming my enemy to the teeth. So yes, I do think that Hunter
it's
Biden
absurd.
has become a geopolitical disaster.
Okay,
already,
right. This is all now it's just all hyperbole. It's utter hyperbole.
Geopolitical disaster.
Yeah,
Really?
exactly. And you think that Vladimir Putin says, "Wait a minute, Hunter Biden was on the Burisma board, got $5 million." I've told you it's corrupt, legal corruption. The same way that big donors donate to your campaign, Vivek, and that's corrupt because they get you to jump when they ask you to. That's corrupt too, but it's legal. It's legal corruption. The political system is filled with examples like this. He wants to make it illegal for most people under 25 to vote. He is more Trump than Trump. The thinking is that, the political thinking is, of course, that younger people vote Democratic for the most part, right? He is working for, I don't know what the next move is with Vivek, but more than anything, he's rising in the polls, and he gets this kind of forgiveness for Trump and the nastiness of Trump. He gets it out there, and he gets it out there in a far more eloquent and palatable shell than does Donald Trump. He was clocking in at a rock bottom 1.2% on March 31st, the day after the first indictment. That was the back of the pack. I mean, he was even behind Chris Christie. But 2.5 indictments later, Christie's only come up 0.5 percentage point. Ramaswamy has surged to 7.5%. Some polls have him cracking double digits nationally. One poll has him at 11%. He is clearly broken from those who are DeSantis, Tim Scott, Nikki Haley, Mike Pence. So I'd look at this guy. He tells a confident story, and he claims to be data-driven, but the reality is he has no political experience. When he's talking about a geopolitical nightmare or whatever, he's talking out of his butt. He's 37 years old. He's a biotech scientist, multimillionaire. His business provenance, as suggested here, is hazy at best.
That's a dang
provenance is a dang word. Thank you. He went to Yale Law School, but claims he's primarily a scientist and made most of his money in finance before launching a, quote, anti-woke financial firm. He wrote 2 books, became a regular on cable news, got rich on hype and failure. He engineered this is from the New York Times, this part. Quote, he engineered what was at the time the largest initial public offering in the biotechnology industry's history, only to see the Alzheimer's drug at its center fail 2 years later and the company's value tank. Still, he had cashed out at a choice moment, hit it rich, and then transitioned to this grievance entrepreneurism. And he's using some of those winnings to self-fund his campaign. And he's also tapped into the vein of tech money that is always looking for a conservative home. He's close to Peter Thiel, Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner, those tech bros. They warm up to Ramaswamy. So all I would say is that you've got to listen to this guy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But wow, he says it confidently, firmly, and that counts. People respond to that. Meanwhile, we're waiting, are we not, on the DA presenting the case to the grand jury today.
That's
and
right.
So again, we'll know this week about charges out of the Georgia election indictment. This week, we will know more. But there's a lot going on now with the Georgia election indictment, and it will bring in others, I believe, beyond Donald Trump. The Giulianis of the world, the Eastmans of the world.
I was reading a story. It said 12. There are 12 people that are now, in addition to former President Trump, but his attorneys who are maybe caught up in an election voting scheme. There's 12 people expected to be involved in these indictments that when they come, when and if they come.
And she's not coordinated. Willis is not coordinated with Smith, the special counsel. But if the grand jury decides to indict, it would appear that they would. Any defendants are going to have to make their way to Atlanta to be booked and arraigned. A number of them could face multiple charges, and the potential sentences could be steep. This is from the New York Times, I believe, or Washington Post. Violating the racketeering law alone could result in a 5 to 20-year sentence. There's also the question of when a trial might occur. And as I was saying before, because of all the other legal things going on with Trump in several other venues, it will be months of pre-trial things like jury selection. And now let me just say this, and then I will wrap up this huge chunk of Trump with his connections to all of these things. The way to beat this, there's only one way to beat it. If you're Trump, the only way to beat it is through jury selection. That is the way to beat it. You have one way out. And if you can get people on that jury who can't be convinced, you're a winner. So jury selection, I believe, and we can ask David Katz about this, we can ask Rothman, et cetera, and we'll ask David K. Johnston tomorrow. I believe jury selection is the get-out-of-jail-free card for Donald Trump, even though they really have him dead to rights. That is your chunk of Trump.
Hold on, I'm almost there.
That's it for this edition.
Well, I really enjoyed it.
But make sure to join us again next time
I think you might want to listen. There's nothing wrong with listening.
for another chunk of Trump.
Well, if there are no convictions, this has all been for nothing, Randy says. Yeah. That explains why he's poisoning the jury pool. Exactly, Eric. That's exactly right. People saying that Ramaswamy wants to be his VP. Could be. He's very Trump-friendly. As I say, he wants everybody to sign that pledge that they're all going to pardon Trump should they become president. Every single one of them. Albert, we have a fork in the road. I can hear you on mic. What would you like to do?
So I did take that poll on the Mark's Murder Mystery Monday featuring Mark. So we could do like a one of those, and then
all right,
we'll go to news first. And I think we have a lot going on in the second hour too. With I think there's big stories in the sky in the second hour, and a couple movie stories as well.
No, I love it. Oh my God, it's quite the show in the coming minutes. So smash the like button like a boss
with your iron rod.
Yeah, hit that like button for us. We are happy to have you here. So when we come back, you want to spin the murder yarn and then get into some of these other things.
Yeah, I think even a Law and Disorder, we could even get to that too. So we have a lot of options.
I love it, Albert. Good stuff. Albert, taking control. Impressive, man. I love it. Yeah. Smash the like button for Albert. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
It was great. I loved it.
How would you handle this?
We could try ignoring it, sir.
Morning.
You cannot say you love your country.
Where are my weed smokers at?
Stay at home and get baked.
Yeah, on the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister, and this is the news. And let us start in Hawaii. Once again, power lines operated and maintained by Hawaiian Electric may be the source of the deadly wildfire on Maui. It's a story we've heard time and again in California. Lawyers are sending experts to Lahaina to look for evidence of damaged power infrastructure that may have ignited the fire last Tuesday. Hawaiian Electric says it will investigate the cause when it's safe to do so. The utility is facing backlash for not cutting the power during critical fire weather, including 80-mile-per-hour wind gusts. But a spokesperson says Hawaiian Electric doesn't have a formal power shutoff program for fire risk like we do here in California with PG&E. Actors Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Jason Momoa are expressing their heartbreak over the wildfires that have killed more than 90 people and left thousands without homes. Johnson said in a video posted on his Instagram page that he was completely heartbroken, along with information about donating to the nonprofit organization Hawaii Community Foundation. I don't know if you can put that up there, Albert. I have it in the banner section. Hawaii Community Foundation. There it is, .org. And that is what The Rock is asking you to do. Former President Barack Obama also touting this as a great way to help Hawaii if you're interested in donating. Momoa, who was born in Honolulu, also shared a statement on Instagram that warned tourists from traveling to the island. At least 93 people confirmed dead after this raging wildfire swept through Lahaina. The Governor Josh Green comparing the devastation to a war zone, adding that all state and federal resources are being brought in to aid recovery efforts.
Look at those guys, by the way, the Rock and Jason. They remind me of. Yeah, I know. It's kind of
it's not an accident that I picked
a young
that
Mark
picture.
Thompson up there in the.
Hello and good morning, The Rock and
date.
Momoa.
Yeah.
In Hollywood, there is also an effort to raise money at a popular bar and restaurant in West Hollywood. They are organizing the fundraiser to help the victims of the wildfire on Maui. The Naughty Pig in West Hollywood has a sister location in Lahaina called the Dirty Monkey. Well, the co-owner of both locations, his name is Matt Robb. He lives on Maui. His home survived, but not all of his employees were as fortunate. 8 of Rob's employees are now temporarily staying at his home. I think Mark Thompson would let us stay at his home. What do you think, Albert?
Absolutely. I'd love for you to stay at the home.
Open the doors, crack open the guest room. That's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who is having that conversation?
Straight to the top shelf, Kim. Straight to the top shelf.
Yeah.
That's right. I know that where the coffee machine is. They got the best coffee in history over there.
That's right.
House.
I'm pouring that Coachella. You're going to love that Coachella Valley coffee.
Have a little Why You Yelling Red at night, a little Coachella Valley coffee in the morning.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Never going to leave this place.
Good trip.
But 8 of Rob's employees are now temporarily staying at his home. Can you believe that? That's 8 people. What a lovely thing to do to take those people in. And yeah.
You'd need a court order to get me to have Kim and Albert stay at my house. I need to say that.
Hey, it was we had such a lovely moment just a moment ago.
I know, just being honest. Honesty
fake.
pulled me
That's
back.
real.
Yeah.
Now you have to ruin it. Rude. Former President Trump is denying interfering in the 2020 election in Georgia, as he could be indicted for the 4th time as early as this week. Trump made a little postie on Truth Social and said, the quote, he didn't tamper with the election. He called Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis phony. Willis is investigating Trump's alleged attempts to pressure Georgia officials to overturn his election loss in the state. It's on tape. You've heard it here on the Mark Thompson Show. I'm telling you, Willis is set to present her case to the grand jury. So, she has said, it doesn't matter what he says in public. She will not be responding to that. She has directed her staff not to respond to that.
And he has really gone after. He's gone after everybody.
Yeah.
Went to the judge in D.C. The prosecutor in Georgia.
Brutal.
And when he can't speak, he has others speak for him. He does this sort of proxy posts from everybody from Matt Gaetz to Jim Jordan, I think.
It's surprising that we haven't seen more backlash from the court saying that, you really can't do this, but okay.
I think that honestly begins then to fan the flames of, he gets away with a lot more because of this, the fear that it's called political or that it becomes political, legitimately political, which is just, so I think he gets a broad sort of, range of actions that he can get away with.
Yeah, given the big leash is what we know.
Thank you.
Downtown Memphis, a shooting there injured 8 people. This is a bad one. This happened in downtown Memphis, 2:30 yesterday morning. The victims are between the ages of 19 and 54, and they were injured after dozens of gunshots were fired into a crowd. No suspect information given yet. The investigation there is ongoing, but wow. Yeah, another mass shooting, this time in Memphis. A Democratic member of the House Oversight Committee says anyone who commits a crime should be held accountable. Speaking on CNN's State of the Union, New York Congressman Dan Goldman, pictured here, was referring to both Hunter Biden and former President Trump. Goldman said political affiliation doesn't matter. The president's son should be charged if he committed crimes. Goldman also slammed currently elected Republicans for not saying Trump should be held accountable if he committed crimes. So, at least everybody's on equal footing here in Mr. Goldman's world. Gotta respect that.
Yeah, that's the way we are on this show. Yeah, I agree.
I mean, if someone committed a crime, bring the charges, right?
Yeah, Hunter did something wrong. And if Joe Biden did something wrong, I don't care who they are. Bring it.
Bring the information. Let's get it out in the open, people. Some interesting things going on the Las Vegas Strip. Maybe you might want to, I don't know, consider where you're staying. Check under the bed sheets, we could say.
What?
Yeah, guests staying at hotels on the Las Vegas Strip might want to double check the beds before laying down. In the past year and a half, health inspectors have found bed bugs in 7 resorts on the Strip.
What?
Oh,
That's not fake. That's real.
That according to a Southern Nevada Health District complaint obtained by KLAS TV, named on the not so desirable list: Circus, Caesar's Palace, Planet Hollywood, Palazzo, Tropicana, the MGM Grand, and Sahara.
Wow.
What the hell is going on in the United States of America?
Sorry, Ron.
Oh, man. It's believed people unknowingly brought the bed bugs in through infested luggage, clothing, blankets, pillows, and now all of those places a little itchy at night.
Wow.
Put up your pants, my man. Pull up those pants.
Yeah, well, I got to get them off to get these things off of me.
Feel a little something crawling on your leg in the middle of the night.
Oh, my God.
Got a little itchy.
That is.
There's a reason that this place is fun.
That's not fun. No.
Did you really just do that?
Well, in San Francisco, we know the taxis, the robo-taxis have been approved.
Yeah, the driverless cars, the driverless taxis.
Cars, they can
what could possibly go wrong?
Well, one wonders. They can now offer rides in San Francisco around the clock. Alphabet's Waymo and GM's Cruise getting approval from officials. The cars have been somewhat controversial, and a 6-hour public comment session saw many objections from officials and residents. The vehicles sometimes have caused traffic jams, and in some cases, they got in the way of public transit, construction, even first responders. There are no limits on the size of the fleets. The companies have not said how many robo-taxis they will release, but over the weekend, some type of cell connection snafu ended up with dozens of autonomous vehicles, taxis, being stuck for, sometimes 15 minutes, sometimes 45 minutes, blocking major intersections. They say it was all the traffic from outside lanes.
My bad. I'm sorry.
Wow.
They just stuck there. Yeah.
Huh.
Nvidia is surging past the $1 trillion with a T dollar valuation mark. The market cap places the Santa Clara chipmaker in rare company with Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, and Alphabet. Nvidia is leading in the market with chips used for AI training models. And lastly, Mark Zuckerberg doesn't think Elon Musk is actually serious about fighting him in the MMA. Did you ever think he was serious?
Yeah, I was going to say, come on,
Gonna fight Mark Zuckerberg? Have you seen that guy? The Meta CEO wrote in a Threads post, Elon isn't serious and it's time to move on. He and Musk talked about a cage match, but last week Musk said he's not sure when that would happen because he might need minor surgery. Musk teased a potential epic location that he said he settled on with Italian officials and said it would be live streamed on X and Meta. And Zuckerberg's like, yeah, you're a big talker. No.
Exactly. Zuckerberg's right on this one. I mean, it's Elon is all show and no go.
I mean, put up or shut up, pal.
Yeah, whatever one of those rhyming things you want to put out there. All show, no go, put up or shut up, whatever.
There it is.
Yeah, all smoke, no fire, all sizzle, no steak. Yeah, all heat, no light, whatever you want. I mean, yeah, I got a bunch of them. I'm not done.
Oh, man. This report is sponsored by the incredibly lovely people at Coachella Valley Coffee.
Yeah, it is.
And you can see at the bottom of your screen here, you get a 10% discount on everything. The website is CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. You check out and you use the code MARKT and you get your exclusive 10% off of everything. And we've got the coffee at our house, we've got the tea at our house, and it is really, really good.
It really is terrific. Yeah, I think you'll be very happy. I mean, honestly, as you know, I'm really tough on coffee. We have a ton of different. I don't know if I'm a snob, but I am. Maybe I am a snob. I mean, I'm very particular. I would say that. Try not to be, too much of an attitude. But the reality is that I tasted this coffee, and then I went to their website. And I ordered a bunch of other. There are a bunch of different coffees there at the website. I mean, they all come through Coachella Valley Coffee, and they have solid arrangements. In fact, their growers, as you know, are oftentimes female-run businesses. They're female farmers, and they tend to deal with them and even have funded a lot of those businesses. But more to the point, so from all of these different farms come all of these different coffees, and they all have different flavorings, and they all have different tasting notes. But the one thing I would say is that they're all consistently terrific. It is literally the best coffee I've ever tasted. And I know you'll be happy. And order what you want. I ordered a bunch of it. Like I'll order like 5 pounds and then get the 10% off. It's great. The code again is MARKT at checkout for 10% off on everything. Teas, coffee, anything you get there at the website. CoachellaValleyCoffee.com.
A lot of positive feedback, a lot of positive letters, a lot of positive feedback, but it's true. The people that have ordered it are like, oh my God, the coffee is amazing. So a lot of corroboration on that. Again, your code MARKT, 10% off at CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. And I'm Kim McAllister, and this is the Mark Thompson Show.
Corroboration, I believe, would be a yes,
thank
exactly.
you.
So I just
Ding
give
me.
you that.
That's right.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Why are you yelling?
That's not fake. That's real.
It's fantastic.
Who's Mark Thompson?
Hey, which one of you is Mark Thompson?
Loving you, loving it. Mark Thompson Show. I'm Mark. So great to have our crew here, Kim, Albert, and you. And you voted, and you said you wanted me to give you a little bit of a murder yarn on what is oftentimes Mark's Murder Mystery Monday. And so, Albert, do you want to run the open, or should I just get into the story? How do you want to do it, sir? You're the producer.
We can run the open.
No, I love it. Albert taking charge. I'm very impressed.
Whoever is producing this thing has no idea what they're doing.
Seems like a solid choice, though, I have to say. All right, this is Mark's Murder Mystery Monday.
Welcome to Mark's
Red Rum
Murder
Red Rum
Mystery
Red Rum
Monday.
Courtney has the day off, so I will give you this. A medic with the Alaska National Guard, 21 years old. She moved from Utah to Alaska to be with the man she fell in love with, her husband, a cannon crew member in the Army. Well, now that man who she fell in love with has been charged with murdering that sweet 21-year-old. Zarius Hildebrand is his name. He's 21 also. Has been charged with first and second degree murder, as well as tampering with evidence in the disappearance and the disappearance and murder, likely murder of Sharia Hildebrand. First reported missing a day after she was seen at the couple's apartment complex, Anchorage police said at the time. Court records show that Zarius was arraigned with an initial charging document filed in the case. He told police that he and his wife had been out with friends celebrating his birthday and had not returned until early the next morning. He said that his wife left for work at about 10 a.m. This just happened on August 6th. And that he went to look for her after she still hadn't returned home about 12 hours later. Saria Hildebrand's coworkers reported to cops that they got text messages from her at 10:45 in the morning saying that she was calling out of work, not going to work. The same day, Zarius bought a 96-gallon trash can. He also bought a set of new bed sheets, hydrogen peroxide, and an empty spray bottle.
He's not going to be winning the award for the perfect murder. Come on.
It's a bad plan.
How obvious do you want to be?
Yeah. Meredith Barney, who is Saria Hildebrand's mother, says that her daughter was the most amazing, precious child ever. But she began to have her suspicions about Zarius from the second he called me from her cell phone. She would never not have her phone, the mother said. She said that she was not aware of anything abnormal between the couple outside of normal newlywed issues. Wow, newlywed issues. Man, you have issues at the beginning. You are going to have issues later. The couple met during basic training roughly a year ago. And then, as I told you, she moved, Saria did, from Utah to Alaska a few months later. She moved here, well, first to be with him. This is according to her mother. But then also because she wanted to get into the medical side of the National Guard.
Okay.
And it's way quicker to do it in Alaska than in Utah. The mother said that working in the medical field was always a passion for her and that she was excited and proud of her daughter for pursuing this new adventure. She also said that she wants the justice for her daughter, of course. She just always has been looking for the future and happy and really, loved. She loved everybody. Everyone loved her, except apparently for her husband, Zarius Hildebrand, 21. He's been charged with first and second-degree murder. And that is a taste of Mark's Murder Mystery Monday.
Mark's Murder Mystery Monday on the Mark Thompson Show.
Albert, you're riding a hot hand, I would say, right now. What should I do next, sir? I would ask you, Blue Liz 420. What up, 420? Did Kim say party at Mark's?
I did indeed. Yes.
DM the address, please. I do think that we could do a party, some kind of off-campus party.
Big shout out.
But anyway, thank you, Blue. I'm with Rit. It's my birthday, too. Got my MTS weed mug right on. Blue Liz 420. Where my weed smokers at?
Where my weed smokers at?
Yeah. I love it. On your birthday, just stay at home.
And get baked.
That's it. It's funny. I was at a dinner last night.
Weed?
Yeah, I was at a dinner last night, and people are talking about the fact, I don't drink. They were going, oh, I don't drink. I used to drink, but I don't. And again, of course, I go, I drink. But I try to, keep it sort of measured. But then I said, well, does anybody like to get high occasionally? And everybody goes, oh, yeah, I get high.
We're just changing our substance.
It was so funny that everybody, it wasn't like they were all, I was thinking for a moment, man, I feel, But anyway, thanks for the contribution and the shout out. And if we do a sleepover, you are welcome. I assure you.
Big shout out.
Where are my weed smokers at?
Yeah. By the way, just because I mentioned drinking, here's something. Just how bad is alcohol? Now, these are things, as you know, I have. Alcohol's bad for you, okay? There's no question about it. But, I mean.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Every few months, you do get these stories, though, Mark. Like, hey,
yes.
1 out of 23 wine drinkers will survive everything,
8 experts weigh in on the risks and supposed benefits of drinking. Abstaining from alcohol is still the healthiest option, but light drinking is okay for most people, according to doctors and nutritionists. So that's the yes. I thought you'd be happy with that. Drinking too much is unhealthy, they say. It's common knowledge. But the research conflicts about where the dividing line is between permissible and risky alcohol consumption. In the last few months alone, 2 large studies have further complicated the picture. A March analysis found that moderate drinkers do not have a lower risk of death than lifetime non-drinkers. It used to be, remember that thing where, you have a little bit of wine every day and that should be better in terms of your heart health, and that turns out to be, not the case. Heart health benefits associated with moderate alcohol consumption could be linked to the way it can reduce stress activity in the brain. We talked about this before, but it's not linked to some kind of physiological thing that's going on with your heart and an interaction with anything that's in the alcohol. So how harmful is a weekly or even nightly glass of wine? 8 nutritionists and doctors were spoken to about the risks and benefits of alcohol. They generally agree that abstaining is healthiest, but that for most people, a modest level of drinking doesn't carry significant risk. There's no absolute safe level of drinking, said former director of the Canadian Institute for Substance Use Research. We usually underestimate the risks from alcohol because we're so familiar with it. The most common myth about the benefits of alcohol is the idea that an occasional glass of red wine boosts heart health. I was just mentioning that to you before. Dr. Krishna Agram, a cardiologist and researcher at Massachusetts General Hospital and the Broad Institute of Harvard and MIT. Wow. Dr. Krishna has a pretty good business card. Yeah. Broad Institute of Harvard and MIT, and also I'm the cardiologist and researcher at Mass General. Wow. Light to moderate drinkers may be more likely to have lower body mass index, eat more vegetables, and engage in more physical activity than people who do not drink at all. Take that, people who don't drink at all. Yeah. But there's a general theory that maybe people who can impose moderation with regard to alcohol can also impose different kind of dietary restrictions on themselves. In other words, if you can limit yourself with alcohol or one thing that you know is a vice or not good for you, that you can be good about moderation in other areas, or that, dealing in vegetables and that sort of thing. So for that reason, this is the point, it muddies up the study, right? Because the people who are moderate drinkers, they don't have the same baseline as everybody else, because they're also oftentimes better in the way of integrating actual healthy stuff into their diet. You'd have to feed everybody the same stuff, right? To really do a study on alcohol or whatever, you have to feed everybody the same stuff and then have a control group that doesn't use alcohol, and then a moderate drinking group and a heavy drinking group. That would be the only way to do it, and that's impossible, right? So when it comes to the red wine myth, one doctor, Dr. Lee, division chief of clinical nutrition at UCLA Health, said that the antioxidants thought to benefit the heart are also found in the skin of red grapes, but this is a quote, would never recommend to someone, go ahead and drink wine, even if you don't like it, because you're going to be less likely to have a heart attack.
They say that about chocolate too, right? Dark chocolate, it's the same antioxidants. Yeah, well.
Yeah. Okay. The long-term health risks of drinking include liver and heart disease, a weakened immune system, and several types of cancer. Okay, all right, stop, would you please? My God.
So what they're doing, they're debunking all the myths that we tell ourselves when we're indulging in these activities, and they're just telling us that if you have self-control, you'll survive anything. Basically.
That's right. Albert is 100% right on that. That's what they're saying. So self-control.
Albert, thank you.
I think we didn't see it in the comment section. Somebody did say define moderation or moderate drinking. That's exactly like. So if you're moderately drinking, you're thinking about
the U.S. dietary guidelines define a moderate low health risk alcohol intake as 1 drink or less a day for women and 2 or less for men. It doesn't apply to people who are pregnant, of course, or have medical conditions or whatever. The CDC also provides a screening tool to help people assess their level of alcohol consumption based on individual health factors. But Canada revised their guidelines on alcohol, and they released them in January, and they say 2 drinks a week is considered moderate.
Oh.
What?
What?
Blame Canada.
Yeah.
Just a couple
Estimates-
of glasses of Molson's, you know, with Labatt.
But really, really big glasses,
Yeah, really.
right, Canada? When should you cut down on drinking? Estimates suggest that more than 140,000 people die from alcohol-related causes annually, according to the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism. Alcohol-related deaths have climbed nationally in the past few years. I'm sure COVID didn't help much.
Yeah.
The U.S. saw a 25% spike in deaths during the first year of the pandemic. There you go. And that trend particularly affected middle-aged adults. For people who drink several times a week and do not have alcohol dependency, even slightly reducing intake can have a significant health benefit. It's not that, okay, you think you're drinking too much, now you can't drink at all. The health advice turns a lot of people off. Thinking about drinking as a continuum, not a binary, is an approach that we think will be really useful for improving population health. Binary is a ding word. Anyway, for people trying to cut down on drinking, they say balancing alcohol with non-alcoholic drinks, drinking slowly, and consuming a meal before drinking. Then you don't get any buzz off the drink. She often brings her own non-alcoholic beer or wine to social gatherings, says one doctor. And most bartenders are happy to make a mocktail. That's great. I don't know. It's just so much a part of me. But that is the kind of the drill down on it. I'll tell you what. I'll post the article to my Twitter or X feed, and you can take a look and decide for yourself. Your mileage may vary, but that was the view of 8 different experts who weighed in on the matter.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Now what, Albert?
Major announcement from Trevor in Hollywood.
Yeah, we kind of do have a major announcement. Trevor in Concord, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, he is no longer Trevor in Concord. He is now
A major announcement from the Mark Thompson Show. A major announcement.
For those who don't know, Trevor in Concord is a great provider of so much to this show.
Yeah.
He's helpful with getting drops to me and all the rest. I don't know what's prompted this move, but he left Concord for Hollywood. Is that really where he is setting up shop, Kim? I think you in the news department should check out what's happening with Trevor in Concord.
Do some digging here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need some facts.
I think he's bound for fame and stardom. The
That
bright
could be.
lights of Hollywood are headed his way.
He picked an odd time to move to Hollywood, given the strike.
Yeah, he did. I'm gonna give him that.
But Hollywood stands and applauds your move, Trevor, and I'm glad you've I don't know, the comfortable confines of Concord. He wants to get to the fast life of the glittery city that is Hollywood. Good luck. Kelly says, I'll be waking and baking on Saturday for my 41st birthday. Yeah, right on, Kelly Malloy.
Happy birthday almost, Kelly.
Yeah, very, very
Where
cool.
are my weed smokers at?
I guess we got them right here in the chat. You know, when we talk about marijuana, I get demonetized. And sometimes as I'm talking about it, I'm going, you know what, man? Demonetize me. I mean, I'm not going to so dry clean our conversation on this show that I can't speak about it. So I'm not going to change. And, you know, yeah. So it's very funny. So now that we can talk about it all you want, because this show won't be monetized probably. So Albert, what did you want to do then? I forget. You didn't say, I don't think.
No, I didn't. I was thinking maybe a quick news, and then we'll end the show with some stories from the sky.
No.
Unless Kim, does that sound good with you? Are you? Is the news department ready for this?
The news department can be ready for whatever you throw our way.
I love it.
Kim, how are you?
All right, that's great. Albert, thank you.
Albert, thank you.
If you haven't smashed the like button for
Smashed it with your iron rod.
Kim and Albert, love it. For Trevor, who used to be in Concord, now he's in Hollywood. I'm not going to be the famous one. My daughter is going to film school. I love that. Maybe her first film will be something to do with this show.
There's never been anything like this.
Yeah.
Who is having that conversation?
It was a reach. I'll give you that. It was a reach. All right.
I love it.
Kim's news next.
Kim, how are you?
And then we will, I guess we're going to do Stories from the Sky, right? So good times. All right, Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. We'll keep news quick because I do want that stories from the sky to get in here. With summer break over, California lawmakers are back with a large number of bills making their way through the legislative process. A few of those, an excise tax on firearms and ammunition, a law setting limits on light pollution, and one restricting solitary confinement in jails or prisons, was previously vetoed by Governor Newsom. One of them, nicknamed the Skittles bill, would ban certain chemicals in food, while another is Senator Scott Wiener's proposal to decriminalize some psychedelics. So these are all being considered with the California lawmakers back in session. We'll see how it goes over there. Do want to mention that officials in Hawaii are fearing that many more bodies will be found after the wildfires on Maui. At least 96 people now are confirmed dead. Governor Josh Green of Hawaii warnings crews could find up to 20 more victims per day as they search the burned-out resort town of Lahaina. Governor Green says the wind-driven flames tore through the community at a rate of 1 mile a minute. Damages are estimated at more than $5.5 billion. Wow, a mile a minute.
And that's what we're talking about. I mean, in every account that you read, it's the speed at which everything was happening. The flames gobbled up everything so quickly.
Doesn't leave you much time to get out.
I wonder if the warnings had been working, if the alarms had been working, if the cell phone alarms had been working, if there hadn't been the power outage with no backup. I wonder to what extent. Obviously, it would have made a difference, but to what extent it would have made a difference, I just don't know. The whole thing happened in this tragically fast way.
Well, that was the complaint in Coffee Park in Santa Rosa, too. I know I mentioned that fire before, but it was that they had barely time to get out and they had no warning. And the system in Hawaii is the hurricane warning system set up. So it's a series of speakers that blare the siren. But when you have hurricane force winds and you have a power outage, that system didn't work effectively. They also, I was reading, said that they have the phone bank system. But when things happen so fast, these can't be put into place. So
the cell service went out anyway. And as you say, we talked about before the fact that there had been recommendations as to a second road out. Yeah. I don't know even know if you'd had the second route out of it, how much of a difference would have made. Again, it would have made some difference, but I don't know what kind of difference. With only the single road, even with that warning, there was too much traffic for the road. And in the best of times I was reading, it's 3 miles an hour on that road. It's so crowded usually, just with tourists and general traffic. Here you have people who are driving for their lives. It was just a perfect brew to produce this, what happened, and it is heartbreaking in the extreme.
Georgia prosecutors presenting their election interference case against former President Trump to a grand jury today. For his part, Trump launched a series of attacks against the Fulton County DA, Fani Willis, on social media, saying he didn't interfere in the election. Willis has led this investigation into the former president's alleged efforts to overturn his 2020 election loss in Florida. If Trump is indicted in this investigation, it would mark the fourth indictment of the former president, who already faces charges in his federal election interference and classified documents probes as well. The search continues for suspects in connection with a flash mob shopping incident at a Southern California mall. Up to 50 masked, hoodie-wearing thieves ransacked a Nordstrom store at the Westfield Topanga Mall in Los Angeles. Happened late Saturday afternoon. Cell phone video from the incident showed male and female suspects smashing displays and grabbing clothes and items before running from that store. Police say up to $100,000 worth of items taken from that Nordstrom's. Flash mob burglaries are starting to become an issue in Southern California. A similar incident happened at a boutique store at a mall in Glendale just last week. Plans to open another immigrant relief center in New York City drawing protests. The shelter site is on state-owned land on a parking lot and can serve up to 1,000 single adult men seeking asylum. Hundreds of residents in the area came out to protest the shelter this weekend. As the city's immigrant crisis continues, the Big Apple is projected to spend $12 billion over the next 3 years to house migrants. And as we mentioned earlier, there's some federal employees in San Francisco being urged to work from home now. The Chronicle reporting the Department of Health and Human Services issued a work from home advisory due to unsafe conditions around the Nancy Pelosi Federal Building in San Francisco, citing the open air drug market frequented by people who are likely high on various substances. All-star shortstop Wander Franco agreeing to be put on baseball's restricted list as MLB investigates an alleged relationship with a minor. This after Franco was mentioned in several social media posts alleging the 22-year-old was involved in an inappropriate relationship. But Franco was not in the lineup in Sunday's loss to the Cleveland Guardians. The shortstop was benched earlier this summer after he was handling his frustrations not in ways the team said that they expect their players to behave. So an investigation is underway. And Clarence Avant, who is the unofficial Black godfather of the music industry, has died at the age of 92. A statement from his family says he died Sunday at his Los Angeles area home. Avant started out as a nightclub manager in the 60s, went on to manage talent including Bill Withers, and later became the chairman of the board at Motown Records, serving as the first African-American board member at Polygram. Avant also launched a Black-owned radio station, one of the first of its kind. He's also advised Presidents Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton, George Bush, and Barack Obama. And again, wow. Clarence Avant has passed away at the age of 92. I'm Kim McAllister, and this is The Mark Thompson Show.
No.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Shadow Stevens. This is The Mark Thompson Show. Keep it to yourself.
Who's Mark Thompson?
Yeah, everybody, I'll tell you something. I wanted to tell you earlier. First of all, I want to thank Beth. Beth is truly with us all the time. Yeah. Big shout out to you, Beth. You are...
Big shout out.
Super sticker HOFer. Mm-hmm. Beth Farmer for a quick 10. Thank you so much, everybody. We do depend on you to make stuff happen here. I wanted to let you know, thank you, Super Sticker Beth. And all of you who have made contributions through Patreon and PayPal. But I wanted to tell you something that a lot of stuff has happened today. We had our mothership rebuilt with computers and everything, and our levels we had to work with, and we're still working with it. So it was distracted. I'll give you a superficial example, and then I'm going to give you a significant thing that I've left out in all of our conversations, and you're really going to want to know it. So the superficial thing is, Albert, because we were in such a crazed maelstrom of activity as the show is getting on, maelstrom would be a ding word. I didn't ask you to tweet.
What?
And you didn't tweet, and I didn't tweet. So now we can tweet, we're wrapping up the show, but you ought to check it out on replay or something. Will you do that?
Yep, I'm on it.
Okay. Now I'm going to give you the significant thing, and it's related to Donald Trump, and you're going to want to know it.
The Mark Thompson Show.
There is one significant part of the Donald Trump case which has nothing to do with evidence or Giuliani or the Secretary of State in Georgia or even Trump himself. There is something about this case that makes it distinct from the federal case that we've heard so much about. And the thing that makes it distinct is that this will be, unless it's accepted by the judge as not eligible, it should be a televised trial. That's right. He's charged as part of the state-level election interference, of course, and the public could hear and see evidence against him. And again, Georgia law requires that cameras be allowed during judicial proceedings with judges' approval, of course.
Well.
And cameras are seen as an important aspect of transparency. So a judge would need a compelling reason not to put cameras in the courtroom. Like one of the things that they would do is they'd say, if it was a case involving a minor, they may not have the courtroom cameras. But under Georgia's rules, the public could be able to watch the arraignment as well as an entire criminal trial. That's not been the case in federal and New York courts, as you know.
There's never been anything like this.
So that is my one morsel for you on Trump that I wanted to get to earlier, and I just will throw it in here before the end of the show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Now, Albert, you wanted to do Stories from the Sky. Is that right, sir?
Yep.
Is that your testimony? Mm-hmm. All right. We love it. And stuff's going on all the time in the world of aviation. This is Stories from the Sky.
We have clearance, Clarence. Roger, Roger. What's our vector, Victor?
Enough is enough! I have had it with these monkey-fighting snakes on this Monday to Friday plane! Everybody strap in!
Start right in the sky. American Airlines had a plane drop 15,000 feet in 3 minutes.
What?
Flight from Charlotte to Gainesville. Charlotte, North Carolina to Gainesville, Florida. Airline officials say the crew reported a possible issue with pressurization. No. The plane did land safely with no reported injuries. One passenger, a University of Florida professor, said that tensions were high on board as the plane dipped.
I bet. Tensions were high is probably an understatement.
Right.
We're going down, people.
I've flown a lot, he said. This was scary. Kudos to our amazing flight crew, cabin staff, and pilots on American Air 5916.
My bad. I'm sorry.
The photos cannot capture the burning smell, loud bang, or ear pops. Wow, that's a very dangerous hat trick. Burning smell, loud bang, or ear pops.
That's
no
not
bueno.
fake. That's real.
Other passengers also praised the crew. Delta showing the problems began roughly 40, it was an American Airlines flight. Data shows that the problems began 40 minutes into flight. The altitude drop took place between the 42nd and 45th minutes of the flight. The plane descended 18,000 feet over the course of less than 3 minutes, but 15,000 of those were in 3 minutes. It moved from 30,000 feet to 10,000 feet. Scary. The American official statement is, while in flight, the crew received an indication of a possible pressurization issue and immediately and safely descended to a lower altitude.
I think you know what the problem is just as well as I do.
No, I don't know. We apologize to our customers for any inconvenience, and thank you for your...
Everything is going extremely well.
Inconvenience, my ass. What are your thoughts when the plane is dropping that many thousands of feet in that many minutes, in 3 minutes, and you feel that yourself plummeting toward the earth in a metal can? My thoughts would be, well, I guess this is my moment.
Yeah.
Party
well,
over.
when you put it that way, Kim,
Sayonara,
it does sound
sucker.
a little...
No.
Yeah. It's a sayonara sucker moment.
Sayonara, sucker.
Oh, wow. But we'd like to give you a coupon for a free meal on our next flight.
No.
Meantime, U.S. Airlines scramble to avoid cancellations after a massive recall of 1,200 jet engines. Know what on that, Albert?
What?
Several U.S.-based airlines are reportedly working hard to avoid cancellations after Pratt & Whitney announced a massive recall of some 1,200 jet engines.
What's wrong with them?
JetBlue, Spirit, and Hawaiian are among the companies that are shifting ground crews and changing flight schedules after last month's announcement that P&W, as they call, Pratt & Whitney, was removing the geared turbofan engines that were found to be tainted with microscopic contaminants. The contamination is said to pose a danger that could cause cracks in certain parts of the engine.
Oh, no.
The GTF engine, which is said to be used by dozens of foreign and domestic airlines, is one of two that can be fitted to the Airbus A320neo, which is the top-selling aircraft in the world. European carrier Wizz Air and India's Go First are among the carriers that have had to ground aircraft as a result of this engine recall. Spirit, the seventh largest domestic airline in the U.S., told investors earlier this month that the recall will leave the company with fewer aircraft to fly, as well as an overstaffing problem, which is going to impact operations in the fourth quarter. So they're looking at the money part of it. JetBlue is the sixth largest domestic carrier, said in an earnings call that they're looking to lease engines in hopes of minimizing the damage to their schedule. In other words, we're trying to take whatever self-help measures are available, they say. It's going to depend on the availability of the parts that require replacement, say both carriers. The limited availability of replacements for these engines had already limited Hawaiian's ability to make full use of its Airbus fleet. It grounded a bunch due to lack of engines. Pratt & Whitney is a subsidiary of RTX, the aerospace and defense contractor formerly known as Raytheon. So this is pretty big news. May your engines not be Pratt & Whitney. That's my wish for my audience. Albert, do you want to run this? Is this a TikTok thing on the Delta flight?
I think in that story they don't have it, but they were. You could just go over the story. The TikTok is a. I guess
Okay.
we could just run it.
It's whatever you want.
Please see me at the podium. At this time, I'm offering $700, ladies and gentlemen. Offering $700. $1,100, ladies and gentlemen.
This is to give up your seat on the flight from $700 to $1,100.
I said
guy's not
$1,100. Pittsburgh. I'm speaking to Pittsburgh passengers. You're not from Pittsburgh, sir. And you're not going to Pittsburgh.
Oh, somebody who's now people are stepping up from all over the airport.
Look, I want 1,100.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Now they're at $1,200.
$1,200.
Yeah.
Oh.
$1,200. You will receive your compensation in the form of a gift card, American Express, MasterCard, Visa, Amazon, Best Buy, Airbnb, just to name a few. It's your choice.
Wow. Albert, it's pretty good. I told you, what did I tell you I get, Kim, when, from Washington, D.C.? For, it was a first-class seat, and there were no more seats. And they said, if you'll take a coach seat. Did I tell you what it was, Albert? What was that? They gave me, I want to say it was $1,500.
They probably gave you some flight credit, right? Some flight credit.
But the thing you have to do is, if you have a flight, already, you paid a bunch of money for that seat. So it can't be less money they're offering. You know what I mean? So to be fair, if you have a first-class seat, it costs you a couple $1,000. You need to get to a couple $1,000 as the offer. So in the case of a coach seat, if you're getting $1,200, generally speaking, that's covering you on coach and giving you a little walking around money on top of that, isn't it?
Yeah, free rebook, a hotel probably, if it's like an overnight flight. If there's no other flights available, so it's a pretty sweet deal.
The most I've ever gotten was $1,600 from United, says Heather. Yeah, and mine might have been. I think mine was $2,000.
I think United. I think if you find an important person there, the important person could give you upwards towards $2,000, and if you're on an international flight, you could go a crazy amount.
Wow. Good knowledge from Albert.
Albert, thank you.
Yeah. That's Stories from the Sky for today.
Hold it. I'm finding it.
Whoever is reducing.
This has been Stories from the Sky. The captain has turned off the seatbelt sign, and you are now free to move about the cabin.
We finish as we started. Rickety. But we got to a lot of stuff today.
We did.
Got to a lot of stuff. And we will get to even more tomorrow. Disney and the movies. We'll talk about that tomorrow.
What?
Also tomorrow, the new Christianity. That's right.
What happened to the old one?
The old one is still there, but the new one is rapidly coming ahead in the race. And it's a little less kind than the old one. Again, more details tomorrow. It's a real thing that pastors and preachers are talking about and registering many as an issue, I should say. So
I offer this sincere apology to you today.
Right.
I apologize to all who have been hurt.
Right. And anyway,
I apologize to every preacher and pastor.
All right. So maybe we'll get that.
So are we calling it Christianity 2.0? Are we calling it mean Christianity? What are we calling it?
That's a good question. You can label it tomorrow. You know what I mean? I don't know if it's...
Let me kick down the door and talk to my cheap sons and daughters.
It's not about money. It's not about money. This is not about money. This is a story that's about philosophy and about life outlook. So I think you'll like it. But
what he's
tomorrow,
got going here is a situation.
David K. Johnston tomorrow is the guy you really want to talk to, because David will tell you about the Trump case. He'll tell you about these growing charges and this dragnet of charges, I think, that will affect Georgia. So all of that tomorrow. That and more. I thought we were going to critique your TV appearance from last week. Pauline, you are right. Yep. So tomorrow, we're going to do that. And the reason I waited was because Tony downloaded the actual episode, and I thought for starting and stopping, rather than have Tony send it to Albert, I just thought there was just so many hands that were involved, but we will do it tomorrow. And
I did put it on the rundown for tomorrow, so no one will
all right,
forget.
Great. Yeah, so you will not be disappointed, I promise. You will, I think you will be... I think you'll be impressed at how mercilessly I pull apart my appearance on morning television. So we'll do that tomorrow. But I think the big thing is David K. Johnston tomorrow. We'll update all things tomorrow. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you for being so good to our sponsor, Coachella Valley Coffee. Take that 10% discount if you head over to their website, CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. The discount code is MARK-T, 10% off, CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. And you can, good for anything, that discount on the website. And thank you for being so good about sharing the show and being part of the show. Our show is growing, and it's all because of you. So thank you. Kim is next on the After Party Live. Who doesn't need an after party, and who doesn't need it to be live?
I'm Shadow Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
Head on over that way. Till tomorrow.
Out of time. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.